I've in previous videos used my beat up Yashica LM from the 1960s. I'll link those videos below. But I was fortunate to find a Yashica-A recently in very good condition. The Yashica-A was the entry-level model of the Yashica TLR range, first released in 1956, and production for this particular model was seized in 1960, and at the point it was retailing for $29.95, that's dollars. It was manufactured in Japan. Between 1957 and 1959, models featured a grey leatherette with black or grey metal, or cream leatherette with brown metal, and those are really rare. Mine features the twin Yashica 80mm f3.5 lens with a copper leaf shutter, but they were also released with a Yashica 80mm f3.5 lens. Shutter speeds are bulb, 1/25th, 1/50th, 1/100th, 1/300th, and that's it. And the f-stops range from f3.5 to f22 in full stops. It does have a PC sync port for flash guns and a cold tube for accessories and flashes. And the flash actually syncs at all shutter speeds, but that is the joy of a leaf shutter. On the focus dial, you will see the range, distance ranges, and this is measured in feet. Then also the camera has a little window in the back, and that'll tell you on what number of the film you are. Also, when you initially wind on the film, you check for the number there till you wind it up to number 1, then you know you're on your first frame. If you go into the viewfinder, you will notice that it is a nice, beautiful, square, and it's quite a bright viewfinder, and it has the focusing loop, so you can do your fine focusing. And then if you want to keep it at eye level, maybe just compose, and you're struggling this way, and maybe you pre-focus, then you can press in that door there. A lot of people don't realize that that's a feature of many TLRs, and there's a little hole, and you can look through there and you can get a sense of what the scene is, because some people get disorientated looking down like that. Important is obviously to realize that you cannot focus like that, as if you pre-focus or you shoot at infinity, you can use the camera like that. It also comes with a nice little TLR lens cap. It has no light meter, but on the wind dial you can see the ASA settings, really just to remind you of what film you have in the camera, I guess. You do have to manually wind the film, so double exposures are very easy to do accidentally, as you will see later. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is a 32mm filter size, but it's not a thread, it just fits over the lens. The lens can actually take these close-up filters to enable closer focusing as well. I've used them on one image. So the long one goes over the viewing lens and one over the taking lens. The minimum focusing distance on this camera, which is 3.3 feet. My camera also came with this beautiful leather pouch. Gives you camera straps, so in that regard, I suppose it's nice. But yeah, it always feels a little bit in my way. But if you're into, leather covers, then this is pretty cool. Now the prices I've seen for this camera is $150 all the way to $500. I had a lot of fun with this camera, shooting 2 rolls of black and white, Kentmere Pan 100s, which I've never used before, Ilford XP2 400, which I've used a lot of, and then also Kodak Gold 200, which I've never used before, in 120, and I heard all sorts of horrible things about, and I was keen to check that out. I am on the southern side of Table Mountain, and what you see there in the background behind my head, sorry for my thumb, that is the back end of Devil's Peak. So what I have today with me is Kentmere 100 and the Yashica-A, and I am just hoping that it isn't as good a nick as the cosmetics are optically, and I have no reason to believe that it isn't, but this is my first roll of film through it. So let's spin it all the way to the start. See where that, there we go. Close it up. There, we roll it forward till we reach the number 1. I'm going to see if I can get some of these dead tree stumps, if there's some interesting things to do here. We're obviously sitting with an 80mm lens, so it's a slightly tighter crop. It's not a wide angle, so it's not your typical landscape type of shot. I'm going to take one reading more or less. It's 100 ASA film, so it'll be on the slower shutter speed, wider open side of things. Love the tones. Kentmere's got good dynamic range, and the 80mm on these compositions work. So that is the view, and I'm facing, but I am shooting a standard lens, so that is more the view that I have in square format. And extend the depth of field a little bit, so I think I'm going to try and get to f11 50th of a second. Sun's hiding a little bit, but I think it should still be enough. Let's hope for the best. So far I'm loving the Kentmere 100 and the Yashica-A equally. Working together great. I like these compositions. Square really works. 80mm compresses it nicely. I really like these frames. There's something intriguing about that scene that I'm going to try and capture. I'm actually in the memorial building now, and I ran out of film, and I was having fun, so I'm going to have the Ilford XP2, that's a C41 black and white film. I'm going to see if I can run a couple of frames here. I actually don't have time, I need to keep going again, see how far I can get. There was an issue with either loading or at the processing of the lab, so the film is fogged left and right for some reason. But in terms of the composition with this camera, it's really a nice camera to use on the subject matter. The film itself, I mean, XP2 is a good film. It's a very much a run-of-the-mill black and white C41 film that works in most instances. It's not my favorite look, but it works. Fairly bright winter's day, so it's not massively colorful today, but we have table mounting in the back. Unfortunately, I only have an 80mm, so a standard lens on this Yashica. So I've heard online how bad Kodak Gold 200 in 120 is. I don't know, I find it kind of weird, so I thought I'll give it a go and see for myself. There's only so many ways to shoot a big chunk of rock, and especially in a square format. But I always try and do something interesting. But in this case, I mean, you can either do symmetrical or you can do thirds. Well, you can do something that is, I suppose, center and thirds. Also, I love the look of the Kodak 200 here. I really do. Remember I mentioned accidental double exposures as possible? I was really excited about these 5 or 6 images. Well, not anymore. I find that lighthouse really intriguing. Yeah, I think it deserves a shot. Kodak 200 tones works. I like the composition. I like the 80mm. As always, I'm on a little side excursion while I'm doing work. I just quickly came to see some clients in the Saramonic area, and just saw this nice little scene. But yeah, we got like yellow flowers, and we've got vineyard, which is another layer, and then the mountain in the back. So foreground, middle, and background. Let's see if we can make something pretty out of this. Okay, it might be the scan, but this film is very sensitive to yellow. It's almost too saturated. And the composition is pretty, yeah. So a little bit disappointed with what I did, but maybe it's just not the right film or the right lens for it. That's okay, but also not great. So there's definitely enough color here for Kodak to see how it does with color. Slightly directional light, morning, winter light. So let's see what we get here. And the color I refer to is obviously this neon yellow almost. Again, that cannot be the film, it has to be the scan. So here is the Kodak Gold. I just fired off one last shot of a flower outside using close-up filters, and well, let's take it into the lab and see what we get. I love using this camera. It's small enough that I don't mind, just grabbing it, whereas my Mamiya C33, which is a superior camera, takes a bit more consideration before you head out because it's heavier, it's bigger. I love how this one handles. The lens is actually very good, and that means the image quality is really good. At this stage, the shutter speeds and aperture seems to be accurate. It is the most basic of TLRs, but with really good optics for really what it was meant to do. So in my opinion, yes, if you like TLRs, get this camera. If you like the video, please like, subscribe. I'll put some links down below for listings that I've seen for this camera. It is affiliate links, so if you do decide to buy one from those links, it's affiliate links. I might get a bit of... And until such time that I see you again, cheerio.